Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I know, but I
Thank you.
I'm good. And yourself? This is a wonderful event.
City Center, yes.
Campaign. Did I come up with
It has a lot of diversity. Most downtowns across North America right now are Russian. Post-pandemic.
Well, yeah,
Oh yes, there's a lot of work being done.
yes.
The city's been very active.
Right, of course.
Please remain standing.
Your Honor, the Honourable, the Lieutenant Governor.
Please be seated. Well, good morning and welcome to the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. My name is Nathan Cooper, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. Maramutsi, good morning and welcome. It's our great pleasure for the Assembly to commemorate and recognize the genocide of the Tutsi people in Rwanda. Genocide is a terribly uncomfortable subject. It is difficult to convey the feelings about it, and others would say that it is a crime against humanity. It was only 30 years ago, hundreds of thousands of people were killed in what's often called one of the worst genocides in our history. Kibuka means remember, and that's why we're here today, to remember those that were lost, and to support those that miraculously escaped with their lives on those horrible 100 days in 1994. I'm grateful that we could all gather this morning to recognize this important event. I would like to welcome some of our distinguished guests who are part of our platform party today. The Honorable Salma Lahani, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, His Excellency Prosper Higuru, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda, who's traveled from Ottawa today to join us, the Honorable Mike Ellis, Deputy Premier of Alberta, the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, on behalf of the Premier of Alberta, and Mr. David Shepherd, MLA for Edmonton City Centre, who will speak on behalf of His Majesty's loyal opposition, and our community representative today, survivor of the genocide, Mr. Jean-Yves Rebuzzo. I know that there are several other survivors who've joined us today, and I would like to just say thank you for being here this morning, gracing us with your presence. I also see some legislative officers of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, community leaders, ministers of the Crown, and other members of the Assembly, including former members of the Assembly. Welcome here. To start our program, I'm very pleased and honored to have the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Her Honor Salma Lahani, to provide remarks.
Thank you, Speaker Cooper. As a settler and as His Majesty's representative in Alberta, I acknowledge all First Peoples who have called this place home for thousands of years and who welcomed us here to make our own lives. May we always dwell together on these lands with respect, understanding, and a sincere commitment to walking the journey of reconciliation and now reconciliation. Honorable Speaker, Your Excellency, Mr. High Commissioner, all elected officials, leaders and members of our Rwandan community in Alberta, and distinguished guests all. Good morning. Today, I join you in commemorating and remembering those who were killed in the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. 30 years ago, hundreds of thousands and possibly up to 1 million lives were lost, and even more lives forever changed in the senseless violence of the genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsis in Rwanda by Hutu extremists. Despite international efforts to stop these killings, including aid from Canada, 100 days of genocide took place, pitting ethnic groups against one another. Most of us know of Canadian military officer Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire, who has spoken passionately about his observations as he led the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Rwanda at the time. Rwandan Tutsis and more moderate Hutus lost their lives to hatred and ignorance when they deserved nothing less than to live peacefully. Days like these remind us with a profound solemnity that each and every citizen must be afforded the right of safety and human dignity. In a world where we fail to acknowledge our common humanity and where we forget that we have much more that unites us than divides us, events like these will continue to unfold. I know very well the pain of prejudice and racism and the terrible loss that it creates. When I was a young adult, my family was part of the diaspora that saw all people of South Asian descent, people who had their origins in India, expelled from our native Uganda and left with virtually nothing simply because of our ethnicity. I was born in Uganda. My mother was born in Uganda. My father was born in neighboring Tanzania. We had been there for 3 generations, and Uganda was the only home we had ever known. A society cannot thrive under the weight of hatred and discrimination, and it is our shared duty as citizens to speak out, to support victims of violence, and to confront prejudice whenever and wherever it arises. On that note, I wish to add, as a relative new Canadian, that Canada is a beacon to the rest of the world, but we should never take our shared values for granted. And I'd like to quote one of our past Governors General, the Honorable David Johnston, who said, and I quote, "In a world that has lost its moorings, Canada can be the anchor." We all hold the power to foster positive change. We share a responsibility to find our way to a more peaceful world. May we continue to honor and hold dear the memories of those whose lives were lost to the violence of the Rwandan genocide. May their legacy be a safe, caring, and equal society where all are welcomed no matter their ethnicity, culture, or walk of life. As His Majesty the King's representative in Alberta, I offer my most sincere thanks to all those who work to achieve this goal. To those among us who are mourning a loved one because of the genocide, I offer my deep condolences, and I hope that you can find some measure of peace in the knowledge that they will be remembered always. On a personal note, I'd like to add that gatherings such as these are very, very critical, because not everyone who lives amongst us knows about certain parts of our history. Because Uganda neighbors Rwanda, we were very familiar with that country and the wonderful people of Rwanda. We watched with horror and great sadness the goings-on in 1994 in Rwanda. We have 2 daughters, and our daughters were young at that time. And after the genocide, my younger daughter, entered the Kiwani's Speech Festival, where she was supposed to deliver a speech. She chose as the topic for her speech the genocide in Rwanda. And I still to this day remember the judge, the adjudicator, who said to her that at the end of the competition, "Thank you for educating me. I know that there was a genocide, but I had no idea about the details or what happened then." So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say to you, thank you, thank you, thank you for hosting events such as these, where we can all get together, we can commemorate this event, and we can learn and share in a safe space. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. You're always gracing with such wisdom and grace, and we're so thankful for your service. Now I would like to provide a special greeting from the Canadian Federal Speaker, the Honourable Greg Fergus, who attended a commemoration in Rwanda recently for the 30th commemoration of the genocide, and he has deep ties to the Rwandan community. He'd hoped to attend today, but he has sent us this greeting instead.
Hello, and thank you to my friend and colleague, Speaker Nathan Cooper, for this opportunity to share with you a message for the Alberta Legislature's commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. Today, we remember one of the darkest chapters in human history. We remember the innocent lives lost, the unimaginable suffering, and the lessons that must never be forgotten. We acknowledge and recognize the great courage and resilience of the Rwandan people who have shown such strength in the face of unspeakable horror. As we honor the victims and the survivors, we pledge to never forget. And we reaffirm our commitment to uphold the dignity and worth of every human being, to work for peace, justice, and reconciliation, and to build a brighter and more compassionate future for all. Murakoze Chana.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Your Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, honorable members of the Legislative Assembly, Deputy Premier, fellow Rwandans, survivors, dear friends, I'm really honored and privileged to be here today with you. And my first words are words of appreciation and gratitude to Alberta and its leadership, particularly the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, for this initiative to commemorate Kwibuka 30 and for having extended an invitation to me as the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda to Canada. Honorable Speaker, 30 years ago, more than 1 million innocent lives were lost in just 100 days. They were killed in the most cruel and brutal ways just because they were identified as Tutsi. The genocide against Tutsi was planned and organized by the then government, desperately trying to keep political power over a country it had maintained in darkness and divisions for more than 3 decades. Back then, Tutsi were left to their killers, abandoned by the international community. Today, we thank Alberta for being with us, for being with survivors. We thank Alberta for its solidarity and compassion. While commemorating, let us remember that 1 million is more than just numbers or statistics. Those numbers represent loved ones, parents, children, uncles, aunts, relatives, friends, human beings. They represent dreams and projects. They represent family support that was lost completely. This 30th commemoration marks a generational cycle since the genocide, and it is an opportunity for us to reflect on transformational journey that Rwanda has gone through for the last 30 years, building on a legacy of strength, resilience, and unity that the new generation is called upon to sustain and carry forward, and even adapt to today's challenges and future aspirations. For the survivors, genocide is not the past, but it's ever present. To our fellow survivors of genocide, I once again say thank you on behalf of the Republic of Rwanda. Thank you for your resilience and bravery. Thank you for having accepted to forgive. You have shown true Rwandan character. And today, my special thanks go to Memory Keepers Association and its chair, Yves Rwibutso, and of course the Rwandan community in Edmonton for the work they are doing. We are here to assure everyone, especially the Rwandan community, the survivors, that you are not alone. You may have lost your loved ones, but there is a family you didn't not lose, and that is our nation, our Rwanda that we love. Let the past not overtake your present, because there is nothing we can do about the past. But there is something we can do about the present and the future. For the last 30 years, the government of Rwanda has done a lot with the support of friends, has done a lot to deal with the consequences of genocide, with limited resources, including supporting survivors, delivering justice while balancing with much needed reconciliation, and an all-inclusive political and social governance that cares for all Rwandans. To conclude, Honorable Speaker, Excellencies, dear friends, let me state that many challenges still remain. And we, personally and collectively, Rwandans and the rest of the humanity, we must face with those challenges. We must continue to fight against genocide ideology, especially in the Great Lakes region in Africa, because it's still there. We must face hatred, hate speech, genocide denial that is being spread by those who perpetrated the genocide against the Tutsi and their sympathizers. We need to face them wherever they are, including here in Canada. My call to you all is that we have to bring all perpetrators to justice. They are still hiding, even here in Canada. But we are collaborating with the government of Canada to bring them to justice. Don't let any genocide denial or ideology go unchecked. Denial is criminal. It's not free speech. It is our duty to educate our communities. It's important. especially the new generations. We need to do it more, even better. We need to learn about the history of genocide so that it is not distorted and so that it never happens again. On this note, I wanted to thank you again, Honorable Speaker, for your kind invitation, and thank you for our communities to show up in numbers. Twibuke twiyubaka. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I wondered if we might just try one more time to see if we can hear from Speaker Fergus, if we've made any progress there.
Hello, and thank you to my friend and colleague, Speaker Nathan Cooper, for this opportunity to share with you
Let us
a message
proceed.
for the Alberta legislature.
I would like now, one of my great joys of being able to host such community events is the opportunity to hear, obviously, from some wonderful individuals, but also to take an opportunity to experience some of the culture of each of those communities. And so now I would like us to be able to do that. We are going to hear from Deborah Owihawe, and she's going to perform a number of songs for us. They're entitled Never Again and We Brought You Flowers.
Thanks for having me. As we commemorate the genocide against the Tutsi that happened in Rwanda in 1994. The songs I'm going to sing emphasize on our commitment to saying never again as we remember our loved ones and keep their memories alive, and educating others about our history so that it never happens again. I'm holding this candle as a sign of resilience. Thank you. Never, never, never again. Let us keep alive the memory of genocide. Never, never, never again. Genocide against humanity. Never, never. Never, never, never again. Never again. Hora hori horere, hora Rwanda. Hora hori horere, hora Rwanda. I am lighting a candle as a sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute, you left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no wars, there should be no genocide anywhere. Let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be taught and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand out and all sing out, never again to genocide. Oh, let's say never again to genocide. There should be no wars. There should be no genocide anywhere. Let's say never again. Never again to genocide. Let's say never again, never again to genocide. Thank you.
I know it's a somber occasion, but I feel like it's okay to thank Deborah for bringing such an incredible, moving song to us all. I would now like to invite the Honorable Mike Ellis, the Deputy Premier of Alberta, to bring remarks on behalf of the Premier of Alberta.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you all for attending. I would also like to acknowledge that we're gathered today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 6. Of course, acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who have a deep connection to this land. I am the Deputy Premier. I am Mike Ellis and the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, and I'm here today on behalf of the Honourable Premier Daniel Smith and, of course, my government colleagues. I'd like to offer my sincere thanks to Mr. Jean-Yves Ribuzzo, the President of the Memory Keepers Association, and all the other leaders and members of the organization for having me here today to commemorate the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda. To all those survivors and families here today, I offer my sincerest gratitude for joining us on such a somber day of remembrance. I also want to acknowledge, of course, the Honorable Nathan Cooper, who's the MLA and Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, who does an outstanding job of putting these events together. Of course, Her Honor Salma Lakani, who obviously speaks eloquently at every occasion I see her at, and I thank her for being here. Also, I want to acknowledge my colleague, MLA David Shepherd, for being here, sir. Thank you very much. He is the MLA for Edmonton Centre, and of course, a member of His Majesty's loyal opposition. There are, of course, other former and current members of the legislature that are here today, and I thank you all for being here as well. I'd like to acknowledge other dignitaries in attendance, such as His Excellency Prosper Higiro, High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda, Community Speaker, of course, as I mentioned, Mr. Ribuzzo of the Memory Keepers Association of the 1994 Genocide, and Vice President of the United Black People of Canada. It is with profound reverence that I stand alongside you today, marking the commencement of the 30th remembrance of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi of Rwanda. This tragic genocide claimed the lives of, as previously mentioned, about 1 million people, among them countless family members and cherished loved ones, all in a span of less than 100 days. As we are gathered here, we are reminded of the profound loss endured, yet it's the remarkable resilience of survivors and that offers us, of course, amid the shadows of tragedy. Your unwavering strength stands as a guiding light for the future generations. Today's commemoration imparts two vital lessons of the importance of remembering, however difficult that it may be. Firstly, in honoring the memory of those lost, we pledge ourselves to preventing such atrocities from ever occurring again, not just in Rwanda, but of course around the world. Secondly, Albertans, especially those assembled here today, extend their empathy and solidarity during these times of sorrow. As more individuals, not only in Alberta but across the globe, become acquainted with the families and communities shattered by violence and hatred, may we unite and fortify our bonds to emerge stronger as a community. In closing, I express my deepest gratitude for the invitation to join us in this commemorative journey. I offer prayers, of course, for the eternal peace of those lost in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, and solely because of their identity as Tutsi. And may your families find solace in each other's company, embracing the opportunity to learn from your lived experiences, fostering a better Alberta and more peaceful world for all. So thank you, and I'd like to call upon my colleague, Mr. David Shepherd, to the podium to say a few remarks.
Thank you, Deputy Premier. Your Honor, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, fellow colleagues of the legislature, former colleagues of the legislature, and all of our honored guests and attendees today. On behalf of Rachel Notley, all of my colleagues in the official opposition, it is an honor to be here today for the solemn occasion of the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi people in Rwanda. I want to recognize Jean-Yves, President of the Memory Keepers Association, and all of the current and former members of the board of the Memory Keepers Association for their diligence and their work in hosting these commemorations every year. And I want to extend a sincere thanks, Mr. Speaker, for giving us the honor of hosting this 30th anniversary of that commemoration here in the halls of the legislature. And today is a time when we remember the great evil that can occur when people forget their humanity and that of those around them and allow their hearts and minds to be overcome by anger and hatred. Over the course of 100 days, from April to July of 1994, more than 1 million civilians, primarily Tutsi, but also some moderate Hutu, were slaughtered. The killings were brutal, intentional, and systematic. Neighbors turned against neighbors, husbands against their wives. It was a dark time when chaos, anarchy, and hatred reigned. I know I cannot even begin to imagine what it would be like to live through such a time, such traumatic and devastating violence and loss. But I know that there are thousands who did, who faced this terrible experience and survived, including many in this room today. Aujourd'hui, mon cœur est avec toutes les victimes de survivants de génocide contre le peuple Tutsi du Rwanda et je reconnais tout ce qu'ils ont enduré. Aux survivants ici présents aujourd'hui, je reconnais votre force, mais aussi celle de vos frères et sœurs Tutsi, qui ont refusé de laisser les ténèbres de cette expérience vous consumer. Votre présence ici aujourd'hui démontre votre force, votre courage et votre résilience. Au nom de tous mes collègues du Parti nouveau-démocrate de l'Alberta, nous vous saluons et nous sommes à vos côtés en souvenir de ceux que vous avez perdus, mais aussi de ceux qui continuent à souffrir aujourd'hui. Nous nous engageons avec vous pour faire en sorte qu'une telle atrocité ne se reproduise plus. I'm proud that our city is home to a strong Rwandan community, many of whom arrived after the genocide. Thousands of men and women who proudly contribute to our communities and continue to celebrate their culture and heritage here, even as they continue to live with the trauma due to the loss of family, friends, and loved ones. But they are not defined by that trauma. In the words of Vietnamese-American poet Ocean Vuong, let no one mistake us for the fruit of violence, but that violence, having passed through the fruit, failed to spoil it. That is the legacy of all of you who are here today. You who have risen above the violence that was visited upon you, the deep losses imposed on you, the pain and suffering to build lives, family, and community here. And as we gather each year for this commemoration, it is also a celebration of your courage and strength. It is also a reminder of our collective responsibility to speak out and take action against the kinds of hatred which led to this violence. We must each continue to commit today and every day to stand against hatred and discrimination wherever we encounter it, to extinguish their sparks before they can be kindled into flames. I'm encouraged that there are so many across our communities who are dedicated to that goal and that work, including the many leaders and volunteers with the Memory Keepers Association of Edmonton, both in hosting this annual commemoration and their work year-round. Réfléchissons en tant que province à la façon dont nous pouvons continuer à nous unir pour protéger l'humanité et reconnaître que le génocide et son idéologie n'ont pas leur place dans notre monde. You have my commitment and that of all of my colleagues in the Alberta NDP caucus that we will work tirelessly with your community and others to build our province as a place where all Albertans can live free from hatred and discrimination and have the opportunity and support they need to thrive. Que le paix aux mille collines continue de prospérer et de trouver le paix. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate your remarks. Next, I believe we're going to have a poet share with us, and we're so glad that you could join us. And I'm going to do my very best, which is going to come up short on your name. And so why don't you just come and share with us both your, please pronounce your name for me. And I'm sorry, we're just meeting, and I'm so glad you could come. I know your morning didn't work exactly as you'd hoped, but we're so glad that you're here to perform a poem for us, I Still Mourn.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Nwari Kaijaho. My name means warrior, and my parents named me that after surviving the genocide. It's a very big honor, big shoes to fill, and day by day I try to live up to that name. And today my poem is called I Still Mourn. So I thought it was tomorrow, so sorry about that, but I will do my best to represent my people today. And the preface is called History Repeats Itself. Until recently, I always used to ask myself, what was the world doing 30 years ago when my people cried out for help? As they broadcasted the killings on channels like CNN, counting our casualties in the hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, the entire world turned a blind eye. Since there was nothing for them to gain, they left my people to hang out and dry. The UN took their people home and let my people die. And now they're doing the same thing to the people in Congo, Sudan, and the people of Palestine. The prayers of protection they prayed over their children. I won't be surprised if one day I'll be praying over mine. I Still Mourn is the poem. And sorry if I get emotional because I'm just thinking of my grandparents, my uncles and aunts, my cousins I'll never meet on this planet. I still mourn the relationships I'll never get to experience. And if I'm being honest, I still battle the spirit of unforgiveness. Because, Lord, we all need deliverance. If there's still people asking for evidence, as if there's not scars people face every day, as if they're not covering up bodies 30 years later, as if they're not digging up remains. It was evident, the pain, the agony, as the world left and showed no empathy. In 1994, we saw on TVs. No, they didn't have TVs. They would listen, spread their propaganda on the radio with coded words through hidden agendas. They would gather around, try to listen and fix the antennas with slurs I wouldn't dare repeat today, except one that stands out. They were told to cut trees, but what they couldn't see is the roots underneath. See, you can cut off branches, you can cut off trees in half, but underneath is the roots. And all around you, if you look up and see, they couldn't kill us. The families, the children, the reproduction. I'm very proud of my people because they could have left in despair as if they didn't care, but they're here today. I see multitudes, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands in Europe, in Canada, in Rwanda, in places all over the world, showing off their resilience. And that's what inspires me to carry on this tradition of Turi Kumwe, which means my people will be together, not now, but always, through the good, but also the dark days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And indeed, you did do a wonderful job of representing your people. Our last speaker today is well known here in the Edmonton community. He is a leader in the Rwandan community, a great community builder, and a survivor of this terrible genocide. I'd like to welcome our community guest speaker, Geneviève Rabotso, to bring his remarks.
Dear Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Honorable Mama Salima Rakani, you know where we come from. We never go by the name of a mom. We started by a mom. Mama Salima Rakani. Dear beloved brother Michael George Ellis, I'm sorry, I know you probably prefer Mike Ellis, but I'm just trying to ensure that we educate our fellow Albertans so that they know you pretty well. And he's the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, and he's also our Deputy Premier of the beautiful province of Alberta, representing one of our best friends and great leader, Premier Daniel Smith. And dear our beloved brother, Nathan Cooper, I give you props because you speak in Rwanda, I didn't know actually. So with the miracles, with the names, I believe you deserve a ticket actually to go visit Rwanda because you were nearby in Uganda, so I learned that. So I'm so glad that you are really helping hosting us. And I don't know whether Rachel now, the leader of the official position, is here, but I also honor so much that she's been trying to kind of really support us with. Dear members of the government of Alberta, our beloved elected officials from both ends, United Conservative Party and NDP. And Your Excellency, Higiro Prosper. We never go by Prosper in our Rwandan ways. We do go by first name or family names first, then we go by, you know, what we call here first names. They are beloved sisters and brothers, leaders of different communities and agencies from here in Alberta. Dear Pastor Deborah, the president of the Rwandan community abroad in Edmonton. Dear beloved brother Jean-Claude Munyezam, I believe, I believe I saw him up there. He's the president of the Rwandan community abroad in Calgary and a strong member of our community. And also, Bernadette Sanyu and some other members of our Rwandan community from Calgary. So I acknowledge you here as well for having actually drove over 3 hours to be with us. And the president of United Black People of Canada, I strongly believe he's here somewhere. Also my beloved fellow survivors and Rwandan Albertans and Canadians, dear beloved friends and educators, as well as stakeholders. There's no way I can go past without actually mentioning the name of our beloved sister, Stacy, who's the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Edmonton. It's very important. Also, our beloved brother, maybe you don't know, he's Rwandan Deputy Premier, but he's Rwandan, you know, he's of Rwandan heritage, you know, officer. You can stand up so that you greet the people, you know. Hopefully that we're gonna probably start having more Canadians or Albertans of Rwandan heritage joining the police, CPS, and army, so we can also help defend our adopted mom. And yes, and I want to say praise God, praise Jesus, assalamu alaikum, muraho, hello, bonjour, namaste, knowing that we have different communities, leaders from different communities here. Also, I want to also acknowledge the presence of the secretary that I call Prime Minister, Coco, Claudia Mubyeyi, and my fellow board members who have been working tirelessly just to kind of really make this day happen. I would be brief, but I want to just tap into things that I deem very important to help everyone understand why we're here today. April the 7th, 1994, what happened in Rwanda was what was called Apocalyptic Day. That was actually started by people who are extremist Hutus, whose plan was to exterminate every Rwandan Tutsi. And that was actually the plan. They were calling that day Apocalyptic Day because they had tasted that since 1959 under the Belgian, colonial powers, and the Catholic Church, who actually, coined, the ethnic groups, and who helped actually prepare them ideologically and strategically how they could potentially get rid of us, people that they called the cockroaches, people that they called foreigners, that we were not Rwandans, so that we came from Abyssinia Empire, if not Ethiopia, somewhere that we migrated to Rwanda. The things we didn't belong there, they had to really get rid of us. So today, I want to also make sure that you know who we are. We are the grandchildren of the people, Rwandan Tutsis, former Rwandan Tutsis, who had really, endured oppression since 1959, as I say. We are the sisters and the brothers of the siblings who have been taken away from us during 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda. And we are actually the children of the mothers and fathers who just got killed because they were Tutsi. Today I want to tell you that we here as also the survivors of the genocide who not only endured emotional wounds, but physically. Most of us, we have members here who were raped, who were thrown into the washrooms or toilets live. We have members whose siblings were forced actually to engage in, to sleep with their mothers or sisters in the public before they were killed. We have siblings who face genital mutilation, and we have members who actually who survived actually the burning of the churches. So something that I want people also to understand is that in Rwanda, this genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda is something that we can never be able to describe, to find any way to conceptualize in any form, because people who kill us were our priests. People who kill us were our sisters. So what happens, a priest could even actually call the Tutsis to come into church, pledging that they were going to be safe. Then he could be the one starting actually using spears, stabbing them, killing them. Or a sister of Catholic Church congregation would say, come, this is safe to heaven. Then she goes to the gas station, she grabs, everything, fuel or anything, then she comes, then they burn the entire place down. Or you go in there, she pretends as if she's praying, then she brings the killers to kill. This is how this is this is genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda. Part of what makes it very complex and hard to understand in human history is that. So, moving forward, there is something that we do, which is basically to continue to really look for platforms to share about the stories, what we endured during the genocide, because we deem that to be very important. For so many years, genocide survivors, or the survivors of the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda, have been denied the platforms. Today, we know for sure. In 1994, there was so many meetings. Dear beloved brother Nathan Cooper and Mama Dakani and our Deputy Premier Mike Ellis, who were actually gathering a National Assembly to finalize or to strategize as to how they were going to exterminate the Tutsi. But look at here. We are now within the Legislative Assembly of Alberta with the people who got us, who are standing shoulder to shoulder with us, who saying never again will never happen as long as we here, and we need to continue to work together to ensure that that doesn't happen. So, leading to the end of my speech, I want to also make sure that I want to really just to say thank you to most of actually of our speakers here who did use the proper language. Part of what we're trying to do, we battle with on a daily basis, is the denial of this genocide. Also, the ever-growing number of actually people who enter that camp of deniers for even political reasons, who continue to say that what occurred in Rwanda is not the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda. I saw the speech, I heard everything that was said here. I want to really give you, a special thank you, immense thank you, because it's very important. It's very important to use the proper language because it's a part of the healing. Genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda or genocide against the Tutsi of Rwanda, never Rwandan genocide. I don't know if I can make it probably much more understandable. It's the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda is not the Rwandan genocide. The other thing that we've been working on is just to ensure that whether UN, United Nations, and every single person, especially politicians, educators, the media, they use another proper language, which is people who got killed in 1994, they are not 800K, never. So where that comes from? It's over 1 million. Guess where the narrative comes from? The narrative comes from us because we know the family members who got killed. We can count them. UN has never run any census, any study to do that. So it's very important that whenever we have, for example, officials and different actually presentations of people to ensure that we use the proper language because you are our voices, to ensure that, again, we never trigger trauma or some other things that could potentially cause, more problems in our lives. So I'm so glad today that we're here really just happening to have this reflection because, again, telling our stories actually depict the dangers of discrimination. Discrimination, happens and transpires everywhere. Racism happens and transpires everywhere. And most of the time, we never think that probably that, this can even happen, in our camp. But remember, our fellow beloved sisters and brothers from Ukraine, they're enduring what? So we know for sure there's so much that's happening, across the board, or maybe beyond the borders, that we want to make sure that whenever we happen to have this opportunity, we want to dive deep into what happened so that, our fellow Albertans may really just get to hear from us about what occurred and also use anything that we share as a lesson to help ensure that we can actually use that towards building a very stronger and a more inclusive Alberta. So before I wrap up, I want to acknowledge that there is a brother, Casey Madu, who never ceases to be part of our community. For sure, we have so many problems, but Casey Madu, when he was still serving Alberta in elected official position, he was the person who was calling most of the times to help ensure that not only that we're doing whatsoever we do as part of the preservation of the memories, but to ensure that we're also having resources or access to some of the things that could potentially help empower our people. I'm pretty sure that soon we're probably going to have some medical doctors thanks to the support and some also the support you provided in immigration area, and we can't thank you enough. I want to also acknowledge that David Shepherd has been one of the the first person to have been attending every single event that we ever held. I think that record comes to you, and I'm pretty sure that we also be able to have a way of saying thank you to all of you in much more expressive ways or practical ways in the near future once we are over this period of commemoration. I want to also say that our Premier, Danielle Smith, I want to acknowledge that I had a conversation with her, and she was a very eager to learn more about our communities, also extending our, her hand to say, what, I don't want you to see me as somebody who can do things for you. She said, I want you to be part of Alberta so that we can work together to ensure that your community members can actually access more of whatsoever that you need so that we can all, as Albertans, move together forward to continue to build that much more inclusive and stronger Alberta. And there's no way we can ever thank her enough. Please just extend that, gratitude. Regionally, every single April, mostly between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m., we've been receiving, emails from her that, empathize with us, that say, that they really, there for us for anything that we really need. But at the same time, I want to also acknowledge our beloved brother, Nathan Cooper. There's no way that this event could have happened without your blessing, for sure. And I think there could be a very better way of actually also saying good thank you, or immense thank you to you in a much more very expressive and also practical way. So Jewish community, I want to say that in these 30 years, most of us have been able to have homes when no one else was there for us. When the national community rejected us, Jewish community members from anywhere went to Rwanda, built homes, built schools. So today, it's more of anything that I can ever be able to put into any perspective. To say that I'm very honored to commemorate, we are very honored to commemorate our loved ones in your presence, Stacy, and I believe your community members also get to know, about this. To conclude, I want to say that we're still in the process of trying to build our community. We need the help to get a memorial site, which is very important, and not only for us, but also to continue to educate, our Albertans about the dangers of the genocide, discrimination, hatred, and racism, so that we can use all those lessons to really continue to build a stronger and more inclusive Alberta as well. The second thing I think we've been insisting, our beloved brother Mike Ellis, was that we need, as a Memory Keepers Association, a pathway to work hand in hand with our Minister of Education to review the history whatsoever used as a curriculum teaching about the history of the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi of Rwanda, and to see how we can empower those ones who are actually helping, provide those, lessons. And at the same time, to provide, we people, survivors, the platform to get into those classrooms so that, those Albertans can actually get to hear from us. I'm hoping that it's something that you can really, you and the Premier, help us with. The other thing is that a simple request to you, beloved brother Nathan. We have young people, children who are from our communities, who have never known how this, entity, legislative assembly works. And I wonder if you can probably just offer a way, maybe a day, for them to come and visit, sit down with you, so that you tell them more about how this legislature works. At the same time, that's where you can probably just help inspire them, maybe to see if they could join, some of, our ways of growing into the community leadership, but at the same time, public officials. So today is my prayer that soon, or even actually in days to come, that we'll probably or possibly have, maybe a genocide survivor, maybe serving within this legislature, or maybe descendants becoming more of our public officials here. To conclude, I want to say thank you to our beloved brother Yassin Ahmed, with whom we started this conversation as well. Our chief of staff, his chief of staff, Abizi Uche, and I want to also thank every single person who just took a day off, who traveled from everywhere, our survivors who put everything on the hold, and the friends who come from different places to come be with us. And there is no way that I can ever thank every single person from every single corner who's here, who has been helping, including Claire and Katia from the office as well of the speaker, who's been working tirelessly to make this event happen. Last but not least, His Excellency, or Your Excellency, Higiro Prosper, I wonder if you can probably just help prepare maybe a trip for our elected officials here, including Nathan Cooper, for NDP Conservative Party, both of them, also Mama Rakani, if possible, please, to go and visit Rwanda, see the history from, the very, I think, first site over there, the memorial sites. Also see how we as Albertans, maybe find pathways to partnership to see where Albertans and Rwanda can work hand in hand for the best interests of the citizens or of the people of both, camps. So on that, I would really just, conclude to say Murakoze, which is thank you in Kinyarwanda, and to say, may God bless you, may God continue to preserve genocide survivors, may God continue to help us fight against any genocide, stand together with our stakeholders to ensure that we concretize never again. Viva Rwanda, viva Alberta, viva Rwanda. God bless you.
Thank you so much. This brings us to just about the conclusion of our ceremony. Now, we had a couple of moving parts this morning, and in my notes, I had that you may be singing 2 songs. You sang 1 song. I just don't want to. It's the only one? Okay. I was like feeling bad if you weren't going to, and if I'm honest, it might have been the best part of the whole ceremony. And so I was maybe hoping that there was one more, but it's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, survivors, platform guests, it really has been a wonderful hour to spend with you. The genocide against the Tutsi people in Rwanda is one of perhaps the most horrific event of our time. And it's important that we bear witness to these atrocities, that we remember these events so that they never repeat themselves, and so that we can take time to ensure that we fight against the ideology of genocide, the actions of those who would commit them, and we fight against. The killing of people based on their ethnicity has no place in this world. And we remember the families and victims of the genocide against the Tutsi people in Rwanda. It was their bravery in the face of suffering, the face of commitment, the face of crimes, in the face of crimes against humanity, that is a reminder to us all of the enduring spirit of humanity. Instead of living in anger, our Rwandan communities have continued to spread the message of hope and peace. I think that is an incredible message for us all to take to heart as we look around the world today. And we must renew our commitment to practicing peace and kindness here in our province. If we can learn things from the actions that occurred 3 decades ago, it's that we can move forward with this, that we gained a tremendous opportunity to stand alongside our Rwandan neighbors, not just to support them, but to thank them for showing us what true courage and resilience looks like. To those Rwandan people who call Alberta home, we pledge to turn the mistakes of the past into valuable lessons as we look towards the future filled with possibilities. My deepest and most sincere thank you for all of you who've joined us today, in particular, survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi people in Rwanda. I thank you for being with us today, for those who made this commemoration possible. May God bless you, and may God bless Alberta.